Hello and welcome everyone to episode 145 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, and out here in North Carolina, it's starting to feel like Punk Hazard itself.
Getting a little...
It's hot and it's cold.
Ain't that wonderful? It's
Yep.
Climate, yay. And you don't have the excuse of 2 admirals fighting nearby.
Ah, it's true. Nah, my 2 admirals are my AC and my heat.
And the only winner is the electric bill.
Ah, yes. Kizaru won out after all.
Of course. But yeah, we are well into Punk Hazard at this point, and honestly, pretty fun set. I'm still like,
Yeah.
Again, it's a fun mix of, oh yeah, I remember that, and oh, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
What I'm dealing with. Once again, more of the overarching things, but just kind of a fun set.
The thing that stood out to me this week is the humor. Like all of the jokes just had me rolling.
They were quite good. I thought it did a very good job of settling into solving certain mysteries while also like opening up things and having you question things. Like it's a good pace so far of what we're sort of learning as time goes on. For
sure. Yeah, and I guess I'm sitting here like, again, because I know there's plenty of people who don't really like this arc. So far, like, it's not bad. We're still really early, and I do remember like the back half kind of dragging a bit. So we'll see how I feel about that. But yeah, so far I'm like, this is a lot more fun than I remember.
Yeah, it's been pretty breezy, all things considered. So yeah. But let's get into it with chapter 661, Lakeside Bandits, and it finally happened. Hannibal has become the prison warden, and there's Chief Jailer Domino.
And he, I guess with that increase in salary, he just went to town.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. It's like, did he just start eating a bunch? Because I don't remember him. I remember him being kind of big, but he was also half naked half the time. So I guess seeing him in clothes makes it seem like he's bigger.
Yeah, maybe it's a scale, because obviously, like, I don't think he was this tall either, and like he always had a little bit of like a gut. He had a little bit of a beer belly, but like that's just a belly now. Yeah. Although I am a little sad because when I saw this, it's like, oh, if you got a promotion, I wonder what happened to
Magellan.
Yeah, Magellan. Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, which hey, thankfully we do get an answer to that as with these cover stories, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for him. He finally got prison warden. Good for him.
Yeah.
But we get into the chapter itself as Luffy and the others are trying to make their way across the lake at the center of Punk Hazard in order to get to the ice side in order to meet up with everybody, save everyone. And they're dealing with those centaur people that we saw at the edge, and they're firing cannons at them. And sure enough, it's enough to capsize the boat. Like they're in trouble, and we get introduced to their big captain, Boss, otherwise known as Crocodile Centaur, former pirate, 80 million berries. And yeah, I'll be honest, he looked familiar, but I didn't place him immediately.
I clocked him from the silhouette last week, and I was like, oh right, he's here. Because it's really easy to forget because he had a one panel appearance like 50, 60 chapters ago.
If probably more than that. Around that time I think. Skip. Yeah, right before time skip, because the Whitebeard era was over, and he was one of the ones trying to take advantage of that. Because yes, as we'll learn later, this is Brownbeard. His actual name is he's just known as Crocodile Centaur, but he's called Boss. Turns out that random Brownbeard that I pointed out, I was like, oh, he seems interesting, or that's
you're right. Yeah,
we got black and white, and now we got browns and
Brownbeard. Yeah,
there he is. I completely forgot he became more of a character.
I forgot he was here, frankly. Yeah.
It also leads to the question of, he was not a centaur before. What is up with that?
Yeah. Yeah, so what happened there? We'll get a little bit of insight into that. But like for right now, the Straw Hats are kind of drowning.
Yeah, they're not in great shape, and it's really cold. Thankfully, we got Usopp and Zoro keeping them, afloat as far as Luffy and Robin. But Zoro's getting ready to go for it and attack them, and just as he's about to go on the offensive, a shark grabs him from behind.
He just comes to meet him, and it's just like, yeah, I guess, again, I love all of the consequences of learning that this place was Aokiji and Akainu's duel. It's like, well, basically that led to a bunch of seawater flowing in here from the battle.
Which explains why we have sharks now.
Yeah, which relative to the area surrounding it, this is probably the most livable water for relatively normal sea creatures.
Yeah, that's also true. But poor Usopp is trying to support Luffy and Robin. There's nowhere he can go. So they're about to fire on him, and all of a sudden, their guns all explode in their faces for the bandits. It's like, wait, what's going on there? And it turns out this might be his arc because, man, Brook stepping up.
Dude, yeah. I honestly forgot that too because I'm sitting here thinking, like, I remember, like, a lot of really good Brook scenes from way later, which just had me thinking, like, it would take a while for him to sort of, like, actually get his flowers. But no, like, this is awesome, taking advantage of the fact that everybody assumes he's dead.
He's kind of perfect for that role. They kind of forget about him, and he's great for just showing up out of nowhere and kind of saving the day.
And now that he has ice powers, like spirit world ice powers, he can just freeze their guns.
That's so great. He even has some great, again, humor to him. It's like, who the hell are you, Skeleton Mask? My name is not important. It's Brook.
Yes. he's eating it up. Like he knows he's making the save here, and he's just getting to talk all kinds of smack. And I love that as he engages them, he's like, I've lost enough crewmates for one lifetime, and it's just I love seeing Brook just step up like this.
And it's given just enough time that Zoro can take care of the sharks and get everybody to shore. Because it's like, yeah, we're not weak enough that the sharks are going to rip us to pieces.
Of course not.
You see Zoro get grabbed by a shark. It's like, oh, that poor shark.
Yeah. And I love that, like, they're all freezing and, like, they kind of, they start looking at him. And I just love that close up as the Straw Hats are looking at the Brownbeard and his gang here. They're just like, look at those warm clothes.
That face of Robin's might be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It is so good. Just it's so evil. I love it.
Yeah, no.
And that's when Boss here, Brownbeard, realizes, oh no, he's a rookie from the worst generation, which we'll get more details on later. This is Ace's brother worth 400 million, Straw Hat Luffy. And they're like, oh no.
Yeah. They picked the wrong fight. And actually, speaking of picking the wrong fight.
Yeah, we go back to the fight between Law and Smoker. And yeah, the ship's up top and everything's getting cut up. And Law realizes, like, okay, the samurai was with them, Luffy's crew, and the kids. So I got to kind of stop that. So let's do this just before they get out of my area. And all of a sudden, the hearts of the four Straw Hats all pop out of their chest. He says Chambers, and you see this sort of realization. And just by looking at their faces and how they respond, it's like, oh, he did a body swap.
He did. Yeah, which we'll get into this a little bit, I think, throughout the rest of this chapter. But like, if you're sitting here asking yourself, like, what can Law actually do? The answer is yes.
Yeah, that's
because it really is just like, can he do that? Sure, why not?
I mean, I'll be honest, I remembered the body swapping. I forgot it was Law who caused it. I thought it was our other villain.
Yeah.
So that definitely came as a surprise, but it was also like, oh yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. And I love, like you said, just seeing the way that their faces change. And I feel like that kind of goes to show Oda's skill as an illustrator too, that you can just kind of tell that they're the same character, but different. Obviously, with something like, we've got Chopper in Sanji's body, and the face is completely, it's more obvious. But I feel like, especially with what we'll see a little bit later, I feel like kind of being able to convey that level of nuance of like just by changing the character's face ever so slightly. Like it still reads somehow.
Oh, it absolutely does. And you gotta wonder, like, Law's already attacking the G5 Navy, and one of them calls out, "It's like, you're breaking your contract by attacking us, Law. We're gonna snitch on you." It's like, yeah, that's really gonna stop him at this point.
Yeah. Well, and again, talking about, so what can Law do? And so he does this thing called scan, where he basically, I guess because they're all inside of his room, he basically like takes all of their transponder snails and like plops them all into a pile. So again, just what is Law's power? Yes.
Yeah, we get the confirmation from Smoker. He's a modification man, thanks to the op fruit.
Well, and it's funny too, because it's op for operation. But it is OP because it is very overpowered.
Seriously, it's why he's called the Surgeon of Death, because anyone inside his sphere is a helpless patient on his operating table. So in his space, he can do whatever he wants.
He can do literally anything to you.
I guess you are under the influence of your surgeon when you're under the operating table. So there you go.
And I love, interesting too, just this last little line here before we end the chapter, because like Tashigi goes in and then Smoker says like, "No, your hockey can't handle it," and Law just like cuts her in half. And so that is an interesting little bit of dialogue to me, because it's like, oh, so hockey can't. It doesn't seem like it's a be all end all, right? Like you kind of have to be at your opponent's level in order to kind of cancel out the devil fruit,
right? So there are limitations,
that's how I'm reading it anyway.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You can't have hockey be all powerful.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a balance for sure. Mm-hmm. I am really interested now that we've got Smoker in play, who his whole thing is that you can't hit him because he's smoke. That's a default for every kind of Logia power, so it does have me like, oh, Smoker, buddy, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, how strong?
That's your thing.
Yeah, how strong is he gonna be with this one? It's interesting in that way. But I also like the fact that we get confirmation that whether she already had it or learned it, Tashigi now has hockey. So
yeah,
nice
I would assume pretty much everybody who's like at least on some level gonna have hockey. I feel like that's
yeah,
at this point probably a given.
I think you're right. We do have an SBS, nothing too major from this set, but we do learn that there's some crunching that people noticed, and turns out, yeah, Sanji did put razor blades in Zoro's lunch.
And he just ate it, and he's fine.
Okay.
That is one of those blink and you miss it gags. I don't think I never would have considered.
No, I completely missed that. Not a clue. Let's go ahead and move on to chapter 662, Warlord Law versus Vice Admiral Smoker. And
yeah, baby.
We even check in on the freaking jailer beast, where there's a new member, a Minnow Chihuahua.
Yeah. Just as a fun quick reminder, these are devil fruit users.
And they all have leaky noses. I don't understand that one.
That does make me wonder, because the eyes are similar to Peckham's that we saw.
Oh, yeah.
From Big Mom's crew, yeah.
It doesn't have the lashes. Peckham didn't have the lashes that they do.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, just straight up Master Roshi outfit.
Oh, God, you're right.
So, yep, that's there's the jailer beast, so why not?
Yeah, sure.
But we get into the chapter itself, and yep, Tashigi just cut in two along with her sword. And of course she's like, oh, I'm humiliated because I was cut in half and now I'm still breathing. So just kill me, lol. It's like it's interesting how he says this, but I also don't like how Oda just treats his female swordsmen. Like, they have these strong women all over the place, but for some reason, lady swordsmen just get rough.
I feel like Tashigi in particular.
Yeah, it's like, do you think spirit alone makes a swordsman? Listen to me, Lady Sailor. The weak do not have the right to choose how they die, which is a good line. But it's also like, because it's Tashigi and you feel bad for her because she's doing her best.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for me. And I guess it's more of just like that it is this character in this situation that is like, it's a little bit of a bummer. And now I'm trying to remember if she ever is going to get her moment, because I don't remember.
I hope so. Like, she needs at least
I hope so. Yeah, something at least. But it's also that face that Law makes. Like, again, throughout this whole sequence, I'm just like, I mean, I remember, so, but like, it's just like, you really kind of wonder what he's up to, because he really, the evil vibes are off the chart.
Oh yeah, he is looking menacing. But I also like how the crew does like Tashiki. Like, they're like, don't you disgrace our captain. And they start shooting.
Right, yeah. They're scumbags, and they hit on her, but like, there is a level of respect there.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they try shooting him. That's not going to do anything. This is Law's territory. He just snatches the bullets out, sends them flying back at him.
Yeah, the way that he's like, is he invincible or something? The way that like he's just like, I switched your bullets with the snow around you. So literally, he can move any object with any other object as long as it's in his room. Like that is so ridiculous.
It really is. And he's only really stopped by Smoker stepping in with his Sea Prism Stone club. Gets a hold of Law, grabs him by the neck, puts him down, seems to have a good shape, is bringing down his the Sea Prism Stone, but Law's able to get out of the way and deflect it. So he's good. He's definitely good.
Being able to go toe-to-toe with Smoker, at least, it's pretty hype.
Mm-hmm.
And then, God, I love that bit, too, where he just, like, Law just, like, cuts straight through, like, some of, like, the rock and ice that's, like, holding up the ship. It's, like, I feel like when we last saw him, his abilities were not this busted.
No, he is absolutely stronger than when we last saw him. He has improved quite a bit.
He is a monster. And I will just say right out, like, he never kind of stops being a monster. I really feel like Oda's got some bias. I love it. I love Law, so it's just like,
I know Law has a lot of fans, so
yeah, I feel like we're about to find out why. But like I feel like not that I'm one to be all like shonen power scalar brain, but yeah, no, Law is just busted, and that's something that's something I appreciate and accept.
I'm curious what that means for the future as far as how things are handled. But basically, everybody else is trying to get away because there's no way they can really handle him. But we check in on Luffy, who has bonked Brownbeard and is using him to hitch a ride to
this is so funny. Yeah. They've tamed him. I love that Brook here is wearing a coat too, and that Usopp's like, how can you be cold if you don't have any skin? It's like, it's a mental thing.
Yeah, it's cute. I like it. Also, nice touch that there was a lady centaur there, and that's the coat that Robin took.
Yes, of course. Good touch.
Also, of course, got her dark sense of humor. It's like, I feel so sorry for the others who were kidnapped. They weren't wearing warm clothes either. I hope they haven't lost any limbs to frostbite.
Yeah. Robin gets some good bits in this set.
Oh yeah.
There's one towards the end I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, I remember that one. That one's really good.
Yeah.
But that they're just trying to figure out like what's going on, but that's sort of the progress. But we check in on the master. And they're basically like, yeah, there's a big fight going on between Law and Smoker. And this master is just like, he was supposed to just drive them away. And what about the pirates? Well, they've taken the children from the Biscuits Rune and run at the battle at the front entrance. So the Navy saw them? Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, and I love this whole thing is happening because he's just like a formless blob of smoke. But like throughout this whole scene, he's like sipping on some juice.
Juice or wine or something.
He's still, but he spits it out. But he's just a pile of smoke.
It's pretty great, honestly.
And he crushes it too. Yeah,
vaguely reminiscent, like anime Hexus from the Fern Gully.
Oh,
villain from that.
Yeah,
that's when we get our proper introduction to our birdwoman harpy Monet, and
yep,
she has a pretty great design, honestly.
Yeah, I love Monet. I don't think we've ever had, just like a straight up like harpy.
No, we definitely haven't. And honestly, her face is different enough from a lot of the others too. She is unique in her design outside of being a harpy.
Her face reminds me of if there is a template, quote unquote, like it's for a character from way later. And I don't know if I can allude to who that is without stepping in hot water.
Yeah, I have no
real
clue.
But the sort of more adult woman kind of look to it, it's different from Nami and Robin, but still has its own flair to it.
I also like her deal because she's just information broker. She just knows everything that's going on.
And that makes complete sense as, somebody who can fly. And so she's the one who can just kind of keep an eye out on the entire island. And, she kind of rolls up and is just like, all the Straw Hats are here. It's like, oh, right. The dragon got wiped out, and so did Brownbeard's patrol.
Yeah, they're on their way to get them. And I was wondering why they were so powerful, but it turns out, yeah, this is the Straw Hats. It's like, wait, what?
Yep.
As they are learning all of that, the fight between Law and Smoker continues on. And the men are trying to figure out the bodies, and things are getting sliced up even further as the fight happens. It's pretty chaotic, honestly.
I kind of wonder how this fight looks in the anime, because it feels like if they had like the right time and budget for it, like it could be pretty hype.
Yeah, I think so.
There's just like a whole bunch of debris flying around everywhere. Like this encounter, I think, could look really cool in motion.
It could, but I don't know if they were doing it at this time. I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. Some parts of this era of the anime look good. Not all the time. Quite rare, in fact. But some parts do look good. I do like. Well, first, like Tashigi kind of musing to Smoker's words. Once a pirate, always a pirate. Smoker outright being like, I make it a rule to never trust warlords to begin with. Which, after what happened with Crocodile, fair.
Yeah, quite fair. And Blackbeard.
And Blackbeard. Yeah,
it does not work out too well. But Smoker is smart because he's like, you don't really need this place. There's someone else behind this. So what are you actually plotting? And Smoker is working his way to get behind, and Law is just like, what are you people plotting? It's like, what's that all about, I wonder? And he brings up a bit of rock that Smoker gets in the way of. And it's actually a pretty wild finish to the whole thing where he's like, if you don't change your vantage point, there are some sights you'll never see, Smoker. And he uses Scalpel to go through the rock into Smoker's chest and pops out as hard as a cube.
Yeah, it just
of flesh.
Which is just kind of disgusting.
Yeah. And Smoker's still alive because he's on the operating table and putting people in different ways, obviously that doesn't kill them. So even Smoker's heart coming out does not kill him.
I think this might get explained in an SBS later. I don't think this is a spoiler. I hope it's not. But I think the way this is supposed to function is that it is like, it's like the heart is that it is functioning as if it is still there. It is just physically removed.
Right.
Basically, don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, it functions as you'd expect. It's just not together, and it's
yeah. Which I guess there's precedent for that. It's basically what he did to Kinemon, but with his physical heart.
Yeah, true.
So I guess it's like if the logic works one way, it might as well work the other way.
That's when Luffy and the others roll up, and it's like. And Luffy recognizes, like, you're... And that's how we end. It's just like Luffy seeing and recognizing Law. Short, but pretty great fight. Honestly, it's the finish that really makes it stand out.
Yeah, for sure. But it's cool seeing them, like, relatively toe-to-toe. And we talked about, I eat up just how stupidly broken Trafalgar Law is. But I love that Smoker put up a good fight for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's just, again... that is not a set of characters you'd ever really think of interacting, and I feel like that is also kind of an appeal of time skip One Piece in and of itself, is the kind of weird situations you find familiar characters in.
It's funny because for the longest time Smoker seemed like the impossible like
right,
how would Luffy fight him? That type of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean if we're talking Law is overpowered, I do think Smoker's been nerfed a little bit. If only just because hockey is the thing, and I feel like other Logia types have their element, even if you can hit them, like, oh, Akainu's still magma, which is still going to hurt, but like Smoker is just smoke.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can hit him, that's kind of his thing.
Well, let's get to chapter 663 CC. And time to check in on Sadie and the other guy.
Saldeth.
Saldeth, that's it. Who's got a bit of a growth spurt, it seems.
Yeah. Saldeth was tiny last time we saw him. Now.
It looks weird to see him elongated like that, but...
he's very weird.
Apparently, Sadie's fallen in love with the new Vice Warden, which I assumed was Saldeth, but as we learn later, no.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting. But into the chapter itself, Luffy's just delighted to see Law. He's like, "Hey, it's you. I remember you. It's me, man. Thanks for your help that time." And that's when Robin is very much aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
it's like Luffy's trying to remember. It's like Traffy. Yeah, that's your name, Traffy.
Yeah, That nickname will stick for forever, basically.
I am not surprised.
That's his nickname now. Yeah, he's Traffy.
And you can just see Law being kind of affected by Luffy being here. And Luffy's just delighted. It's like, hey, thanks for all the help you gave me. Hey, where's the talking bear?
That's a good question. Where is the talking bear?
Where is his crew? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're not here, seemingly.
Yeah.
I do really like, actually, this quick little thing, because, like, as we've seen even before, like, during Marineford and stuff, like, Luffy really, like, his value system really does function off of, like, if you help me, you know, like, I love that Oda is consistent about that. That like if Luffy receives help in any way from somebody, like he's there for life, right? Like
he trusts you.
You know, the way that and it's just like he's like Jinbei, and you know we saw the way that he treats Jinbei, and you know talks about Jinbei, and sort of again just it feels consistent, and I feel like like I said, we saw a lot of that during Marineford, where he was, you know, it felt like every time he got help, he was like, I have to thank that person later. I really like that Oda goes out of his way to do that.
Very much matches his character, and it's fun to see how Law kind of reacts to this because of how we've seen him acting, where he is being a bit more brutal than we're used to in terms of like why is he here with a place that's kidnapping kids? So that's a big question, but seeing Luffy definitely seems to affect him in some way, and he's basically saying it's just because of a whim and all that. And you know, you and I are both pirates, and Luffy immediately was like, yeah, true, we're enemies in the search for the One Piece, but there are lots of people I owed for their help 2 years ago, so I'm lucky I got to meet you both you and Jinbei. So it's just
man, he's so precious, and Law is just gives him that look, and he's just like, man.
It's at that point that Luffy finally notices, oh wait, the Navy's here, and wait, there's Smoker, and oh geez, I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah, I love that he's just like, I haven't seen you in ages.
And this is when we get the flashback, the dialogue from Tashigi, from before, where she was before, where he's a madman. He sent 100 pirate hearts back to the headquarters, and now we know how he did that. So the pirates weren't necessarily dead. They're just with the Navy.
Right, yeah, or at least their hearts are. Good on Tashigi for trying to fight the good fight, but yeah, in that attempt, I think if she had just played along, maybe things would have turned out differently. But you know, the way Law reacts and seemingly does the same heart swap thing that he did to the Straw Hats.
Yes. Apparently he does not like getting overly emotional. He hates that, and that's what kicks him off from doing that heart swap. And he's just like, you need to learn, woman. Don't get that so desperate. And he actually still helps out Luffy. He's like, go around the back of the lab. You'll find what you're seeking there. I'm sure we'll meet again. And he just leaves.
Yep.
Since we all each have something to regain. So it's like, what is Law after? There's a lot of mystery there.
He's the wild card.
Yes.
Because I feel like you can tell that he's really playing up the villain. You kind of get the sense that like that's not quite it. I feel like that isn't so presumptuous of me to say at this point, right? Just
no, that's generally the feeling I got, because he's playing up the villain, but he's not killed anybody. It seems like he's working towards an end, especially upon learning that, he took those pirates' hearts, but they're not dead. Yeah.
And I feel like going back and emphasizing that, like, he is the one who helped Luffy. Back at the end of the war, like there's a lot more going on here.
Yeah, I'm very curious what it's actually going to be, because that's one thing I do not know.
Mm-hmm. I think you're gonna like it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think you're gonna like the answer.
Oh boy,
it's pretty good.
Oh boy. But we go to that rear entrance with the Sanji's group, and Sanji has stopped caring about freezing temperatures or the samurai or the kids, because he needs a camera. I need a picture before he turns back, because with the body swap, Sanji is now in Nami's body. Oh,
and it's just nose bleeding all over.
And Nami is in Frankie's body. He's like, what kind of picture were you going to take? And stop nose bleeding all over my body.
Yeah, and then here we have Frankie in Chopper's body, like, stop buttoning my Aloha shirt. It is now at this point where, like, full chaos ensues with the Straw Hats, and, like, the body swap gags are honestly incredible. I laughed at every single one of these.
Yeah, you'd think Sanji being in Nami's body would be kind of creepy, but Oda plays it well.
Yeah, I think it balances out. I think Nami reacts well to it, and I like that the kids, like Chopper now in Sanji's body, now as the Doctor trying to talk the kids through everything, and they're just like, stop being so nice, it's creepy.
Yeah, he's not as adorable anymore, especially when he's in Sanji's body. But the kids are starting to get cold, so they can't move. They didn't really get a chance to escape, so things are not looking great. And they're like, okay, we got to find a cottage or a shack. And Sanji's like, I need a camera and a mirror. And
yes.
And Nami's ready to tie him up. But that's when our samurai steps up here. And he says, place a leaf upon your heads. It's like, the kids are freezing. What are you doing? It's like, just use a rock or something. There's no leaves here. It's like, okay, we put this stuff on now. It's like, what do we do? And he just goes, poof. And all of a sudden, a bunch of puffs of air happen all around. And all the kids and everybody did that now have coats and shoes, which is pretty cool. Very much a ninja trick.
I was going to say, what's that one gag from DBZ Bridge? Clothes beam!
No, yeah.
Yeah. Also, he specifically asked for a leaf because that's like Tanuki folklore.
Right. For whatever reason, I thought ninja, but yeah, you're right. It is Tanuki.
No, yeah. There's a little bit of connection there.
But yeah, everybody's nice and warm now, and he's like, that's when he says, I once dined upon the most peculiar fruit, and ever since then I've been able to use strange sorcerer's powers to give myself and others all manner of disguises. I don't know if those will do, but I'm not familiar with foreign clothes, but if you take them off, they will disappear. He has a devil fruit.
Yeah, he's got the drip fruit.
Mm-hmm. The drip fruit. Nice.
Although it is funny that they're just kind of like, the only thing is like, you could have done this from the start. They bonk him, and then he's just like, I didn't want to cover up the breastband. And they bonk him again.
It's so good. And hey, we get a proper meetup because here comes Brownbeard, and they're actually meeting up with all the others and the characters, and it's also funny seeing they're like, why are they so hyped? Like, what are they doing over there? And that's when Luffy sees Frankie about to punch out Nami because Sanji's peeking at Nami's breasts.
Yeah, which trying to keep track of who is who in where is going to be. I feel like if for some reason that you're listening to this without having any kind of visual reference, if you for some reason haven't read the manga, for one, what's wrong with you? But two, that would make this very confusing. Yes,
it would be. There's no real way around that. They try to help you visually later on in the set for that, but audibly, no, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. They find a place to hide out. Looks like the remains of an old laboratory. They can ride out the blizzard. And Nami's upset because her body has a big old conk on it because, well, she punched herself out.
Yeah.
As Frankie.
God, I love this. Just so, what are you doing to my body, Sanji? I'm not Sanji. I'm Chopper. And the way that they're just like, Rob, this is all very surreal.
It really is. Especially because the samurai has his head on his torso.
He's got his legs back, and he's just like, this whole sequence of events is just bonkers.
I also love how the kids are like trying to like, ooh, shoot your laser beam. Come on, robot lady. He's like, nope. She wanted to help the kids, but she does not want to entertain the kids like this.
Yes.
And Nami actually gives the cigarettes to Sanji. And it's like, let's just talk this out and we'll get this figured out. Which I wonder if Sanji definitely needs to smoke for something. It's like, you need them.
Yeah, as like a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah. I love the introductions. Like, I'm Frankie. Don't expect me to help you if you get hurt. I'm Chopper. I will help you if you get hurt. Again, Frankie being in Chopper's body and Sanji being in Chopper being in Sanji's body. Nami being in Frankie's body going, this is Nami and I'd rather die than shoot a laser beam. And then Sanji in Nami's body going, and these babies are our beloved Nami. She just takes off the coat and is fondling the breasts. It's just...
Yeah, and I love, of course, Nami in Frankie's body going in for the attack, and I love, stop, Nami, you're gonna kill Nami.
And that's when the charge comes out. It's 200,000 berries for every growth of my body and 100,000 for peaking.
It's just, all right, bringing out the pocketbook.
Yep.
And then just throughout this whole sequence, what did it for me is just Luffy and Usopp are on the ground rolling.
Yes.
They are dying. It is so good.
It is amazing. Oh, gosh. But we do get a breakdown of exactly what happened here that led us to this point. So we got the samurai from Wano. The distress signal which we originally picked up was sent to the boss centaur over there, Brownbeard. The whole state of affairs started because the samurai was slicing up the centaurs. He is looking for his son, Momonosuke. And, I saw all the children locked up, so I know my Momonosuke must still be in there. And... Yep. That's when the kids confirmed that, yep, we're not the only kids. There's more kids in there, but we don't even know their names. That's when we get the breakdown that it was Law who cut up the samurai, and Luffy learning that Traffy is a warlord now.
Yep.
Law hit the samurai's body into 3 pieces, locked his head inside, left the torso to rot, and sent his legs to be fed to wild beasts, which is why they found it with the dragon's head. And that's when we find out, how did you speak for your lower half? Oh, that was me farting. I need skill of mine not to toot my own horn. It's just like, oh my God.
We figured it was something like that. So, good to have confirmation.
Yeah.
at least he's got his head now, so he doesn't have to fart anymore.
True. But I do like how he farts out, I need skill of mine not to toot my own horn, or he can just continue to do it.
Yep.
Something else. But you want to talk about faces? And of course, Brooke says, I've seen your torso. The faces between the Straw Hats mixed up are pretty good. Tashigi and Smoker are amazing with their faces swapped.
Yeah. No, these two I think might be my favorite of the body swaps. And it's fun seeing the G5 guys being like, I don't know how to handle this right now.
Exactly. But Smoker did notice that there was a CC logo on the ship hidden around the... No, that was not... It was Tashigi that noticed that. Oh, my God.
Yes. Oh, Lord.
And, from everything from this island should say PH on it for Punk Hazard. But assuming there is someone behind Law's actions here and CC is their initials, there's one person that comes to mind. And that's when Smoker comes over. It's like, and his presence would explain a lot. The former colleague of Dr. Vegapunk, now wanted by the government, the authority on weapons of mass murder, the scientist, Caesar Clown. And he's starting to form a bit there as we end off the chapter with him confronting Law. And he's just like, what have you done, Law? I was like, no, I got a bone to pick with you too, Caesar. So,
Yeah. I feel like with a place called Punk Hazard, you kind of like, oh, this is related to Vegapunk somehow. I feel like that's not too much of a stretch.
I never made that connection, but as soon as you said that, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, as a science facility, and now that we have his former colleague kind of holing up in here, apparently wanted by the government.
Yeah, and for some reason, Vegapunk's labs keep ending up in frozen wastelands.
That's good. Well, I was going to say he has to like it that way.
But it also wasn't originally that way. It just
exactly. Yeah, it just so happened.
Yeah, because I thought about that at first. I was like, wait a second, that wasn't always the case. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to chapter 664, Master Caesar Clown, and a 2-page spread with all the boys just decked out with guns, firing away on their mini Mary.
Yeah, this is awesome. And I look Chopper with like the bowler hat and sunglasses is so cute.
He reminds me of that. There's another manga character. I've never read it before. Like Hitman, like a little.
Oh yeah, Hitman Reborn.
Yes, kind of reminds me of that.
I see it. Yeah, 100%.
Meanwhile, Frankie kind of looks like John McClane with the wife beater on.
Yeah. I feel like this spread was made for Frankie.
Yeah, I think so. But we get into the chapter itself, and we see just a soft-faced Smoker who kind of looks reminiscent of Iceberg at this point.
Yeah, actually. well, there's some exposition to go here, but I love that the G5 guys are like, Captain, we just can't get used to it.
And also the fact that Tashigi is buttoned up as Smoker, and Smoker always has his coat open. Meanwhile, here's Tashigi now with her shirt open. So just
and just man-spreading to all.
Yeah, which it feels like okay, there's a little bit of there's fan service there, but it is informed by the character. This is just how Smoker acts, so it doesn't feel skeezy.
I think it's hilarious, honestly. And again, it is just. These characters being these characters despite themselves, and
also Smoker being practical and always actually wearing his glasses or Tashigi's glasses. I thought that was a nice touch because she doesn't always like to wear them, but he's like, no, I gotta see, so I'm gonna wear the glasses.
Yeah, and of course, the G5 guys are just like, I like the captain looking more open like this, but her personality's way scary.
And all the while, they're discussing like, oh yeah, this stretch of sea has suffered multiple child abductions in recent years. And that's what's going on around this, where we're starting to get a breakdown of what's going on.
Yeah, well, and not only that, and that Smoker, that's Tashigi, saying like, oh, I never heard anything about that. So the control of information going on here.
There seems to be something else happening behind the scenes where it's more than just Caesar, because I've heard of the occasional reports of shipwrecks at sea, but that's it. I guess I had been under the impression that a lot of kids die in the area. But I found out that G5 receives a large number of child abduction reports. But by the time the information makes it into the news articles, they're always changed to shipwrecks, piracy, disappearances, and so on. So, there's always a chance they were incorrect, but I don't know about that. And that's like, no. The Smoker just comes out and says it's like, no. Those follow-up reports are lies. The kids are being abducted and the abductors are here on that island.
Yeah.
Which means that it has to mean that somebody within G5 is covering up the truth about children being taken from their homes. And they're just like, wait, what? Like, we wouldn't do that. We got at least the bare minimum pride as sailors.
Yeah. And I love, basically, Smokers, you guys are too stupid for me to suspect you.
He's just like, no, as long as man joins together to conspire against man, there's no such a thing as a perfect untainted organization. Assumptions will let the real enemy walk free, so don't get deceived by appearances. And that's they go, yes, Captain. It's like, Tashigi's like, I'm the captain. It's like, oh, right, we were deceived by appearances. That's
a cute little gag. But like, man, the mysteries are really starting to pile on. I had forgotten just how much of this arc is like, it really does feel like a mystery, like Smoker's basically a detective.
Yeah. And I like that element where there's something's up with this government facility. It's a former government agent, now wanted at the very least, dealing with law. Like there are multiple layers here of something going on, and it helps give it that different feel to our arcs before. We're getting answers for certain things, but it just builds up to more mysteries. And I like that aspect because usually once answers start coming, you kind of get the full picture.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Like we're kind of dealing with like multiple factions and like sub factions, like it's not quite the level of like a political drama or anything, but like there's a lot of intrigue here of just sort of like who's working for who's on whose side. Apparently there's like a traitor amongst us. There's a surprising amount going on here.
Mm-hmm. And Smoker's telling his men we can't leave the island for the time being because I need to get my heart back and my body back. So 1/3 of you men should take a ship and report to this, steal it if you need to since ours is pretty much busted. But yeah, I'm going to find out who's doing what on this island. And I like that push from Smoker. The Straw Hats don't care.
Right. Yeah, certainly.
So it's cool to have somebody that cares about the situation.
Yeah. Again, it feels like there's multiple layers here, and like it's not easy to juggle so many different like character motivations all happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. And that's the crazy thing here that another element I completely forgot. Caesar answers to somebody. He's specifically on a phone saying, hey, we've got permission to kill the Straw Hats, the G5, and Foxfire Kinemon, which I'm going to have to assume that's our samurai. You don't have to confirm it, but that's
I was wondering if I should or not.
Yeah, you don't have to confirm it, but I just going off assumptions that has to be the samurai because that's the only...
Based off of context, that feels pretty clear.
So we got that. We also learned that if anyone dies on the island, Joker will ensure that it gets chalked up to another accident. So that is interesting. But when I hear Joker, I immediately think Doflamingo. So I'm like, is Doflamingo behind this again?
I was just about to ask if you remembered who Joker was.
I don't know. I don't know for sure who Joker is. I don't know if I ever reached a point where they confirmed it. But just based on the code name, my first thought goes to Doflamingo. And we know how many hands and he has in plots. So
yeah, but it's apparently that if they can just kill all of them, like the Straw Hats and, well, obviously, but like if it is on the level that like, oh, we can cover up killing G5, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like I feel like there are powers at play here that are certainly we're going to find out more about.
We saw Doflamingo talking with somebody else in a higher position as well when he was assigned to assassinate Moria. So he has powerful friends. He has powerful friends. Right. We know that for sure. Whether he can have them do this stuff, that's unknown. So yeah. I don't know. But Caesar's ready to just let's take anyone alive that we can manage because we more experience. But go ahead and poison them. So let's get some more information about what's going on, and they start getting of course, the lowdown of like their bounties and of how they've been away. And again, Monet just really having all this information, just really getting it down. That's like, I really do like it.
Yeah. And that they understand that they're dealing with the Straw Hats, and like we have to be careful, right? Like we can't underestimate them, which I always appreciate that in a good antagonist.
We get one of the Centaur bandits popping up as like Boss Brownbeard got captured. Is like, oh, the poor fellow. Don't worry about him. I'll get him back. So go into the back room at once. You're very lucky. So thank you so much. And it's just like that seems ominous.
We'll learn a little bit more about this later, but there's sort of the idea here that like, oh, he's here to heal me. He's he's our omnipotent, our master. But I feel like you can already kind of tell like, really.
Yeah, this is not going to go well. Usopp decides to help everybody out by putting little face masks on everyone to denote who is who.
Yeah. Hey, I feel like good reminder that Usopp's a pretty good artist.
Yeah. Usopp has some skills.
Yeah. I love how poor dejected Nami and Frankie's bodies is. I don't even care anymore.
It's so weird to see Frankie looking like that.
Yes. God.
I also like how Frankie has been stuck in Chopper's Kung Fu form because he doesn't know how to change.
He doesn't. Yes.
Again, there's a lot of great like subtle things there with how the characters act that just really go well. But that's when Luffy's learning about Brownbeard. It's like, surely you've heard my legendary exploits.
They tied him up.
Yeah, they tied him up completely with all the chains. And Zora's just like, hey, you wouldn't tell us a word, so what's with the change? It's like, oh no, you're going to be all dead soon, so Law will come save me. So I hate the cheeky little pirates of your generation. Law's the only good one. It's like, what do you mean our generation? It's like, oh no, the entire group of you that were at Sabaody 2 years ago, those Supernovas and Blackbeard are now known to the world as the worst generation.
I actually forgot that this is where like that terminology came in, because that'll stick.
I mean, I figured as much. I mean,
yeah,
they can't be called the Supernovas anymore, so the worst generation kind of works out better.
Yeah, and I feel like we could kind of fill in the blanks where Brownbeard is kind of like after Whitebeard's death, they spilled out into the New World, wreaking havoc, and it's like, yeah, we kind of caught a glimpse of that with Kid, who is apparently just destroying Big Mom ships left and right.
Seems like they're all doing quite well. Though Brownbeard really doesn't like Hawkins because that's who split his crew up.
Was Hawkins the one that he encountered before the time skip in the one scene we saw him in? Okay, I had a feeling.
Yep, that was it. Because of Hawkins, he lost his legs and could no longer be a pirate. His crew barely escaped, and they just found themselves on Punk Hazard. But it was actually full of life, greenery, just overflowing, and it just had the laboratory because of Vegapunk, who was developing and testing all manner of weapons and chemicals. So the prisoners would be taken here instead of jail to be guinea pigs in his experiments. But then one of Vegapunk's chemical weapons tests went disastrously wrong, and 2 of the 3 labs were destroyed. So that's what we're in now, is one of the labs that were destroyed. The heat and toxicity of the explosion wiped out all life on the island. And now the government workers abandoned the test subjects here, escaping with their own lives and sealing off the island. So that's a little messed up. The prisoners held up in the remaining lab in order to protect themselves from the gas. And a lot of them lost their lower body functions because of that. So it's really just a breakdown of the whole history of this place. It's honestly kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and well, I do kind of, because I kind of fell for it for a second, because the way that he's breaking it all down sounds really reasonable. Like them, I was saved through Master's kindness. If Vegapunk was the devil who stole the use of our legs, then Master is a kind and merciful God of salvation. And that's when I was like, really now?
Yeah, I was like, because, he allowed them to actually move with balloons and other devices, despite their legs. And then Law showed up, and that's why he likes Law, because thanks to his powers, he was able to cut their useless legs off and attach them to animals so they could actually move normally.
That makes me wonder what happened to the other halves of the animals, but
maybe they were eaten or not. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I love this because, gosh, like, we don't really know anything at all really about Dr. Vegapunk at this point, and so you can kind of pretty easily believe from Brownbeard's perspective, like, oh, apparently, he did some pretty messed up stuff.
I mean, he made the pacifistas, so which
is fair enough.
He's up to something. Like, geez.
Yeah, but I guess like to the point of like chemical weapons tests and destroying the ecosystem of this island and leaving all these people here to die. And it's like, Frankie, or wait, rather Nami in Frankie's body. This is like, I never knew Vegapunk was so wicked.
Meanwhile, Luffy's like, I knew Traffy was a good guy. He saved my life too. Like, he was just convinced of how good he is.
Yep, that's how his brain works.
And it turns out the dragon that they found was a creation of Vegapunk, an artificial life form that guard the island. The celestial dragons liked it so much they gave it a name, which he forgot, which I feel like is important, but maybe not. I don't know. But
maybe. Yeah, and I love that they're like, if you encounter it, it's very dangerous. I love Zoro's like, okay, we already ate it.
Oh, gosh. But, he's giving this warning, trying to be like, you don't stand a chance. And all the while, Luffy's just asleep.
Oh, yeah, of course. I feel like this is a really exposition-heavy chapter.
It is.
And with the Brownbeard portion in particular, he's out. I feel like Oda knows that, for a young audience, this stuff's probably not that interesting.
Probably not, but I find it pretty fascinating to get there, especially because we immediately get it juxtaposed at the laboratory. It's like, Master, it hurts. What medicine is this? Let me out. And it's like, okay, how do you feel? Okay, nausea, coughing, good, very good. Does your head hurt? It does. Excellent. Your eyesight, any hallucinations? There's a giant snake. Oh, no, there isn't. Rest in peace. And just kills him, as far as we can tell. So, yeah, there's their kind and loving master. Yeah,
turns out this guy, not great.
Nope. He's like, and he also has a very high opinion of himself. It's like, Monet was like, oh, another failure? It's like, watch your tongue. My experiments never fail. Not even my great work 4 years ago, but they all foolishly continue to claim the opposite. My weapon succeeded in killing an entire island, and you dare call it a failure, world government. I'm the deadliest man alive.
So he did it.
Yeah, it wasn't Vegapunk. It was him. It was all Caesar. We finally get to see him in his full glory. And I've never seen the movie, but my thought whenever I see him is David Bowie in Labyrinth. I don't know why, but that's just the feeling I get for his design.
I don't have a visual for that, but wouldn't be the first time that Oda based villains off of movie actors.
True. So I don't know if that's the case, but it's interesting nonetheless. But yeah, we get he has a bounty of 300 million berries, and he has the gas fruit.
Yeah, which that tracks.
Yeah, that definitely tracks.
Yeah. And it seems he's got an inferiority complex.
Oh yeah, he wants to surpass Vegapunk, and that seems difficult to do.
I feel like that's very much what is going on here, and that he is. You get the sense that he probably flipped the narrative when he was as he was telling the story to Brownbeard and his guys. It's like, no, I'm gonna make myself look out like the good guy here.
And he tells half truths because we learned from Smokers, like, yeah, he was the number 2 man in the science division, constantly at odds with Vegapunk. And the accident was caused by him, but Vegapunk was held responsible because he was the one in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But because of his gas powers, he was able to escape from the prison transport ship and hasn't been seen since. So if Caesar's continuing his research on this island, then he has to be stopped before he unleashes something even worse.
We seriously got a guy on the run just making weapons of mass destruction and presumably experimenting on children.
Yeah, that seems pretty heinous.
Yeah, no. I feel like just right off of the bat, you're just like, oh no, like this guy is just a glorious scumbag.
Yeah.
Caesar Clown is just the word. And he knows it, and he's just lives it up. But also, I think I said this before we had started recording, but in the anime, Caesar Clown is voiced by Ryusei Nakao, who is the voice of Frieza. And also,
that's amazing.
The evil scientist guy from Bleach. What's his name? Mayuri, I think.
Oh, I don't remember. There were so many names in Bleach that I could barely keep track of.
Oh yeah.
But I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, here's another like crazy evil scientist that he's voicing.
Perfect. But we do have an SBS where somebody asks is like, so I noticed when Smoker was inside Tashigi, she isn't wearing a bra. Did he take it off, or was she not wearing one to begin with? I know. It's how do you say it when Smoker's inside? Yeah, I don't know. Either way,
that's what the translation says.
Yeah. The Oda asks Smoker, and it's like, okay, what's the answer? It's like, I ripped it off. What's it to you?
What's it to you? Yeah.
Of course, he just wanted to be. He has to breathe.
Yeah. There you go. There you have it. Just, good Lord.
And also something I forgot about, but yeah, it's the case here that Oda decided to get rid of little comments that are outside of word bubbles.
Yeah,
because
this is a thing that's
forget about him and just focus on the story,
which I think is fair. That is something that I actually noticed as somebody who works on a lot of manga, and when these things are localized, that we have to erase those by hand. So I'm intensely familiar with manga artists who do use a lot of handwritten asides because they're often just a tiny little bit of a pain in the butt. So I do respect that Oda's just like, no, don't worry about it. So that's cool. Yeah. Although there was one this chapter from one of the kids.
Oh yeah,
which I did. I was like, oh, this is a rare aside text from you don't see it in One Piece too often.
No, you don't. But let's go ahead and get to our last chapter of this set, 665, Candy. And hey, it's time to meet the new Vice Warden, Magellan.
He's kind of going through it a little bit. He
got messed up. He has metal on his wings. He has metal on his horn. He has a scar on his face. He got beat up bad.
And it looks like one of his arms, or one of his hands rather, is mechanical.
I don't know if it's mechanical. I thought he always had those kind of gloves.
Yeah,
before.
It could be.
But yeah, this is who Sadie's in love with now. You can even see the hearts behind.
Well, I'm glad he still has a job.
Yeah, it feels like he's still in charge because even Hannibal cheering him on, and from this angle, Hannibal definitely seems fatter.
Yeah. I'm glad things are going at least relatively well. As well as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it maybe makes more logistical sense to maybe not have a warden who's on the toilet 12 hours a day.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But yeah, we get into the chapter itself, and Frankie has learned how to change into Chopper's normal form. So he has to use his imagination in order to do that. And
you just got to use your brain.
That's when Sanji learns that the samurai went outside because Brooke had mentioned coming across his torso. So he wanted to go find the torso.
Naturally. I love that Sanji now feels kind of responsible.
He really does. I also love in the background Luffy's playing with the kids, and Luffy and Usopp, because they're rolling up snowballs and Usopp's caught in the middle. Well,
it's just adorable.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, as you said, Sanji feels responsible for him, and he's just like, fine, I'll go get him. Luffy, I gotta go for a bit. Cool? Yeah, cool. All right, I'll show you the way, but might I ask for a peek at those paintings first? Hey, good call. In fact, let's find a camera so I can... And Leon Nami immediately catches on. No. Zoro?
Zoro,
go with them.
Zoro's the distraction. That's so good.
She knew exactly what to do there. Is just have Zoro completely take up Sanji's attention.
Yes, and of course, she has now learned better, so she only hit Brooke instead of herself.
The only thing broken is my will to see her panties, which, hey, effective.
Oh my god, it works. Oh god, and here on this next scene is where we get one of my favorite gags.
Yes, it's so good. Because Nami's just like, okay, we got to get back to normal for the first time. I can't stand being this weirdo any longer. And Frankie's in Chopper's body going, hey, take it easy. I can't stand this much praise. He likes being a weirdo.
Oh, yeah, of course. You call Frankie a weirdo, and he's just like, hell yeah, brother. And then here we have Robin. Just don't ever make that face on Chopper again. Just the way that... I feel like it is so rare for her to be like, no, stop that.
Yeah, annoyed. Because it is a gross looking face. And then he makes like a grumpy face. It's like, Frankie, I don't want you to speak again in that form.
Ever. It's just one of those like cute little background gags where I feel like Robin really does like cute things and thinks of Chopper as cute. And so any time where that cuteness is sort of compromised, he's just like, no, don't do that ever again. I like that she is so willing to roll with so much, but she sees Chopper like this and is just like, I have my limits.
Yeah. I enjoy it quite a bit. And that's when we're going to get into the interesting stuff here where Chopper's analyzing the kids, trying to learn what's going on. It's like, what's wrong with the kids? But all of a sudden, one of the larger ones, Sind, doubles over saying it hurts. So, hey, Chopper, fix him. What's going on? And that's when all the other kids start going a little like, oh, it hurts again as well. And so are they sick after all? And like Chopper's like, no, they're not. Do you kids want anything? What are you usually doing around this time? Usually it's testing and then we get our candy. And he's like, candy? It puffs out smoke all over and it looks cool and tastes good. If I eat the candy, that always makes me feel happy. And the look on Chopper / Sanji's face is like, so good.
Things are starting to get a little dark. Well, I mean, I feel like they were already a little dark with this kid's plot line, but like basically from Brownbeard's perspective, it's just like, hey, you took them away. Our master's treating those kids. He's the scientist of love, blah, blah, blah. It's just like the kids are in agony because you've denied them their daily treatment.
So it's like, have you figured it out? It's like, no, this is NHC 10. Trace amounts of it are in the children's body. It's a stimulant. Only select doctors in select countries are allowed to handle it by law. I know this because Dr. Reen had some. Its original purpose is to treat illness, yes, but not up to the point that it becomes addictive. They are going to get intense withdrawal kicks if they want the next dose. And he did this to innocent children.
Caesar Clown is getting kids addicted to drugs.
Yes.
That is what is happening here.
You don't think about that too often because you like when I think of Punk Hazard, I think of the half lava, half ice island, or the fact that the bodies got swapped. But no, we got child abductions and experimentations here. And
not only that, the government is covering it up.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you put it all together and you're like, oh, Oda's saying something here. And I feel like when you get into like, oh, the kids are involved, like, oh, we're like, no, it's over. There is no sort of moral high ground to be taken here. Like, no, this is an evil man who needs to be stopped.
Yes, for sure. And the kids get so much withdrawal that they actually beat Luffy into a wall. They're so strong. And, they're just like, oh, this is probably how strong giant children can get. This strong? And that's when the other kids are like, but he's not a giant. None of the big kids are. When we came to this island, we were all normal size. So we have don't we have a growing disease? There's nothing else wrong with us. It's like, no, there's no disease that makes normal humans to grow to the size of giants. If you're big from birth. So again, they're being experimented on. They're being drugged. Caesar is causing them to be like this. And Luffy's like, okay, should I knock them out? And Usopp's like, no, stop. I got this. And he uses his sleep star and puts all the kids to sleep.
Boy, it gets dark. And I feel like I feel like I mostly remember the explanation for this, but like I feel like you don't need an explanation to know that like having giant children around who will probably grow up to be even bigger is a problem.
Yeah. That is certainly a problem. And we see 5 of them here, so there is, it is bad. So they definitely gotta go find this guy and learn the root of the problem. But obviously Sanji and Zoro and Brook are off finding the samurai, and Chopper's just like, I want to go destroy this guy right now, but I'm worried about the children.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I need to watch over them.
I feel like this is going to be again with like the Thriller Bark comparisons. This is kind of like a Dr. Hogback kind of thing, where like Chopper has found a scientist who has crossed the line, and now it's time to stand on business, right? Like we gotta set things straight.
I love when Chopper gets motivated like that.
Yeah, very much.
That's him at his best. Chopper and Nami are going to stay behind to look after the kids, and they tie them up to make sure that they aren't able to thrash about in their withdrawal.
It's a little bit cruel, but yeah, what must be done.
They need to go find Law to get those bodies switched back. And Luffy's immediately like, "Why can't you just stay the way we are?"
Yeah, I love that Nami is she is the most desperate to just get out of this.
And I gotta say, this ending completely caught me off guard, because we go to Zoro's team, and him, Sanji, and Brook are all knocked out by these people with giant footprints, basically Bigfoot size things. They're all completely knocked out, and we have Law looking at Smoker's heart, or no, Caesar's looking at Smoker's heart, as him and Law hanging out together. So, I've already sent soldiers to handle the Navy, but this should seal the deal. So what about Straw Hat? I'm not worried about the kids. They'll want to come back soon enough, but Monet has been urging caution with the pirates. So I sent the Yeti Cool brothers after them.
So we just got a pair of Yeti assassins.
That is amazing, especially because we just saw how strong Zoro's been this entire time since the time skip, and he's out cold.
Yeah, I kind of don't buy it 100%.
Not 100%, but I'm like, I feel like there has to be some sort of special thing happening that put him down like that.
I very much don't really remember how that whole thing shakes out. So I'm curious to find out, presumably next set.
I have no idea on that one, but it makes for an intriguing.
It's a good hook. It's a good place to end for sure. Because we're kind of like, I don't know, it really feels like this arc is getting the ball rolling. We're got introduced to our second rung villains right here at the end. Yeah. So
we don't have a lot of minions in the grand scheme of thing, like not really main ones. It really is just Law and Caesar at this point, plus Monet, but she doesn't really seem like a fighter. So
yeah,
it's limited in that way. And now we have like sort of obstacles to get across, but that's the thing. I've actually been I know, again, I've heard people down on Punk Hazard, and you've even said it has a bit of a rough end, but so far the beginning has been really good, really intriguing stuff, answering it, nice mix of humor, some really dark stuff if you really think about it and how it's all being handled, and a pretty legit threat when a guy's making gas of mass destruction. So yeah, I don't know if it's up there as like a favorite, but I'm really enjoying it.
So far, yeah. What was I going to say? I'm wondering if this will be kind of like the opposite of Fishman Island, where I think the worst part of Fishman Island is the first like third of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of wondering if it'll be a situation like the opposite of Fishman Island, where I felt like the first third of that arc was the worst part of it by far, whereas I'm actually really enjoying the first, we're like 10 chapters into Punk Hazard 11 maybe. And I'm actually like, I don't really have much to complain about so far. Like it's got so many layers to its mysteries. It's moving at a really like fast clip.
The status quo seems to change a lot because we had the crew separated, then they got back together again, and now they're separating out again. It's constantly in motion, which is keeping it interesting.
Yeah, it's all moving really fast. Like it never feels like I'm bored, whereas again, like that sort of core conceit, those first like 15, 20 chapters of Fisherman Island, I was just sitting there like, nah, man, this is dumb. I couldn't get along with sort of the core conceit of what was going on. But like here, I am actually way, way into it. So, but again, I do remember the back half being a little bit messy. So we'll see how I feel about it this time. But it's fun kind of knowing a lot of the mysteries, but also not quite remembering how it all comes together. So yeah, I can't wait to read more.
Yeah, same here. We do have an SBS, but there's really not much to say about it. Just bathing habits of the crew and somebody pointing out that Robin has cleavage revealing a lot. So that's really all there is to
You
it.
don't say.
Yeah, what a shock. Oh, goodness.
Lord.
But yeah, I think with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 661 to 665 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter, and also on BlueSky without the underscore. Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am Brandon Bovia on Twitter and BlueSky, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And I'm excited to. I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm excited to read more Punk Hazard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 666 to 670 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Of being a giant perv.
Ah, come on. You know you love me, Nami.
Frankie, don't smile with his face. It's creepy.
You're no fun. So about the ankle biters, what do we do? Any bright ideas?
Frankie, I beg you, please don't speak while you're in Chopper's body. Not one word.